Yeah! Alright, welcome back to the channel, y'all. In this video, I'll be giving an overview of Legends of Wasteland in its current state. This is an idle RPG, still in development, that is expected to release within the first quarter of 2026, so keep that in mind if you actually want to play the full release. I've divided the video into different sections of the game that I found to be the most interesting and relevant to the progression. The demo, it is currently out now, so if you like what you see, definitely give it a try. Lastly, if you like indie games, demos, early releases, stick around by subscribing. It's free and you'll get notifications on my weekly uploads. So for starters, out of the 6 classes, in the demo you can only play the warrior, and the warrior itself has 2 different specializations, those being the valiant and the berserker. For this playthrough, I did end up going with the valiant because I love my tanks, but in the future when the game fully releases, I definitely want to try either the mage or the Templar. Now with each specialization, there are their own unique skill trees as well, but I'll go more in depth into that because it doesn't get unlocked until later in the game. So when you first arrive in town, there are really only 3 points of interest that you can truly click on, that being the statue, the portal, and the chest. With the statue, you can choose the difficulty of your game. I ended up upscaling it into the advanced difficulty. The chests, it's going to be empty, and then the portal is where you actually start your adventure. So what I'm hovering over here is your click attack, and this is the attack that you can actually interact with on the screen by left clicking, and then to the right of that is going to be your riot attack, which is the one that passively is going to be activating. Going through the different menus, you have your deployment for your egg, your skill book for your skills, and then your inventory. And then there's also a character sheet that goes over the details of your specific character. You have a damage tab, defense, pet, summons, others. As you can tell, it's pretty in-depth as far as everything that you can look at stats wise. Now, I've never played Path of Exile, but I looked at this talent tree. This thing is insane. Just the sheer scope of the amount of nodes that you can eventually, branch out to fully develop and make your build unique. It's pretty exciting, just looking forward to it. And this is only with the warrior class, right? You gotta think about all the other classes that I had shown at the beginning of the game. Even on this talent tree, I don't think I hovered over any, but there are these keystone nodes that will pretty much change how your class plays itself as well. I'm always grateful whenever a game has a codex or some kind of index to show the items that you can actually obtain. That note translation found is actually for legendary items, but there's legendary and there's normal equipment. Now, for all my min-maxers out there, this game does actually have another table of contents for prefixes and suffixes, basically all the enhancements that you can get on a piece of equipment, whether that's, you find it with the enhancement or you end up going to the blacksmith and adding it on later. So to show you a bit of the combat here, you gotta hit the portal, go into the dungeon entrance, and then you gotta start the story. The game does graciously give you a little tutorial, but all you really need to know is that you left click on a target to select it and obviously do your basic attack. And then once you get skills, you can slot them to that bottom right toolbar there. And the order that the bar is placed from left to right is the order in which you will begin casting abilities. Now, thankfully, as you progress in the game, that left click becomes automatic, so you don't have to keep clicking. Because I definitely found that to be annoying for an idle game to where I have to manually click to do more damage, but that gets solved later on. Same thing with the potions here. Initially, you have to manually click them, but as you progress, you can use them automatically. So as you see, I'm just left clicking the monsters, and in the story mode, once you finally defeat all the enemies, that's when the next wave actually encroaches. Initially, you have to hover over the items to pick them up, but as you progress through the game, this whole process becomes automatic. So at the end of every single dungeon, there will be a boss, and as you can tell from this boss, it actually dropped me a skill gem. Skill gems are how you get your skills onto that bottom right toolbar, and if you get a level 1 skill gem like I did, you can only get a level 1 skill. So after completing that dungeon and completing the corresponding quest, it unlocked this merchant window for me. The merchant, throughout my entire playthrough, I really didn't end up using it that much. But, hey, if you want to buy some equipment that you weren't able to find while you were inside the dungeon, then I guess this is the best place to do so. So with the skill gems that I acquired, I ended up learning 2 skills, Fire Slash and Heavy Slash. Eventually, you will be able to acquire things called potential gems, and these gems are what you use to modify your actual skills themselves. So for example, instead of only casting Heavy Slash on one enemy, with a potential gem, I could end up casting it on 2 different enemies. Or if I'm casting a projectile, instead of only casting one projectile, it can split into 2 different ones. And it's the level 2 potential gem that actually unlocks the auto click for your left click. Okay, so confession, I am a min-maxer, and the blacksmith was the best part of the game for me. I just love being able to just take a piece of equipment, put it in the slot, and then just do my rolls and see what I could get for my enhancements. I ended up spending a lot of time here, especially later in the game when I was trying to really hone in on the build that I was doing for my tank class. Outside of polishing, which is what they call enhancing, you can also refine, which is just upgrading your already available stats, and then decomposing, which is what you can do to break down your equipment into materials, which you can combine into enhancing stones, which give you the prefixes and suffixes for your gear. Okay, so in this clip, I'm just showcasing combat with the skills that I have now acquired. And you'll see that the bar to the right of my character is just showing the casting of the individual skills themselves, and it's always going in the specific order that I have them at the bottom of my bar. Now with the potential gems, this is the entire window, at least for the level 1 potential gems, that you can use to add modifiers to your individual skills. Now of course, because the demo only goes up to level 20, we don't yet have access to everything that can be offered with the potential gems, but just from seeing what is available, just from the previews, it's pretty diverse. You know, I can definitely see myself spending a lot of time trying the different modifiers for my abilities to get the outcomes that I want in every single battle. Now with actually equipping the potential gems, it's pretty self-explanatory. You just got to click and drag it into the corresponding shape mold, and you can't stack the same one, so keep that in mind. Can't get too wacky with the builds. Now after getting a bit further into the game, I ended up unlocking another building called the Adventure Guild, and this is where you actually get your auto pickup, your filters, your pet expedition. This window here, you should be saving up gold for. It's from this point forward that the game actually becomes a true idle game, because with the auto use potions, I no longer have to look at my screen to make sure I don't die. With the item pickup and the filters that go with it, I can actually start to make sure that I'm not picking up junk and that I'm only getting the items that I want to get. So I ended up testing out the filter in the adventure mode here, and the adventure mode is like the story mode, but it doesn't end. So you can continually keep fighting monsters without worrying about the game stopping you because you've completed that specific map already. Now the pets in this game is something that I'm actually looking forward to upon the full release, because with the individual pets, you have properties, you have different abilities, you can actually give potential gems to your pets to modify their own skills. Similar to player levels, your pet can actually level up with you, and you can actually modify and enhance your pet egg before it hatches to give it bonuses that it will have when it's actually fully hatched. And of course, these bonuses will be reflected in its own character page. Now, when it comes to actually using your pet, you have to deploy it first. It doesn't just automatically join you in the battle. And as you can see on the left side, I have this grid surrounding my character. You can strategically place your pet in either the position in front of you, behind you. So maybe on the full release, there will be pets that can actually tank for you. But my current pet seems to be more of the caster type, so I ended up placing it behind me. Now, once you progress far enough into the game, you will unlock something called the bounty board. And the bounty board is basically where you get your quests. With the quests, they do have their own individual rarities. So all these quests that you see me accepting here, these are all the normal quests. But if you refresh, sometimes you can get even a rare quest. The point of the bounty board really just seems to be for different materials, for experience, and just overall enhancement stones. So definitely take advantage of the bounty board once you have it unlocked. Okay, so with this next dungeon entrance, this is called the Realm. And with the Realm, upon completing it, you'll actually be able to get something called a first ascension talent point. And it's with this talent point that allows you to actually begin to specialize with your class that you selected. So for my warrior, this entire time, I've just been a warrior. But once I actually complete this dungeon, and I get those first ascension talent points, that's when I'll be able to specialize into the Valiant class that I wanted to originally, the tank class. Upon entering the Realm, it's pretty much a pick your poison kind of dungeon, where you have to select one of these two tiles that will dictate what happens in the next wave and also give modifiers to the enemies. Now, upon completing that Realm dungeon, I go back to my talent tree, and this is where I can actually select the specialization for my warrior class. So I go with the Valiant as I originally intended, and with the Valiant tree, one of the nodes I ended up picking is upon blocking, I receive 100 health. This node itself carried me throughout the entire run, no complaints about it. But again, there are other specializations outside of just drain tanking, which is what I did. So I definitely encourage you to try them all out, because your playstyle may or may not fit with mine. So one final part of the skills that I couldn't really fully go in depth into because the level cap was 20 are the soul gems. You slot soul gems the same way you slot your skills in your skill book. And with specific soul gems, you can actually have them activate whenever you cast a certain skill. Now, unfortunately, I picked the soul gem that gives me armor whenever I break an enemy's armor, but because of the low level, I didn't really feel the effects. Now, as you play the demo, I definitely encourage you to experiment with what you can and cannot enhance, because I didn't even realize until I tried it that you can enhance the Rift Key. And the Rift Key is one of the items that you end up using for a different kind of dungeon entrance called the Invasion, which gives you its own reward pool different from the rest of the dungeons. So one of the last windows that you can unlock in the demo from the Adventure Guild is called the Pet Expedition. And from here, you can basically just send out your pet while the game is closed, fully closed, not just minimized, and your pet will go on these, expeditions to get you experience and gold. Now, I've only been able to get golden experience, but potentially upon full release, you can actually get other items as well. Now, one of the cool things to look forward to as you're idling is that there is actually legendary loot. And throughout my entire run, over 10 hours, I only got 2 pieces. One was the sword, which I just highlighted, and the other was my chest piece, which ignites enemies for me. Okay, so like mentioned earlier, one of the dungeon entrances, really the last one that you can unlock in the demo, is the invasion here. And with the invasion, you have to place these rift keys. Throughout the run, I seem to have gotten at least 1 rift key from the quest storyline and then 1 rift key from just regular adventuring. So it seems to be a rare drop that allows you to actually enter the dungeon itself. But as you can see, once you enter the dungeon, at the very top, it's timed. Now, unfortunately, my drain tank build was way too weak for me to actually progress and reach one of the chest checkpoints, but I'm sure upon full release, I'll be able to double back and, progress to the point to where I can get that top tier chest and that juicy loot. All right, y'all, that is the game. Hey, appreciate you watching, sticking to the end. If you're on mobile, slide me a little hype, if you're on PC, drop a little subscription. But most importantly, please do leave feedback, because I plan on making videos like this weekly for the demos that I end up playing. And any feedback that you can give me, I will be applying in the upcoming videos. With all that being said, again, thank you for watching, and deuces.